Welcome to St. Michael's e-learning classes. My name is Professor, and today, my dear children, we will be studying chapter number 9 of Social Science for Std.4. The name of the chapter is Our Water Resources. So let's read and understand this chapter. Now before we begin, let us understand the title of this chapter, Water Resource. Water, as we know, is very much important for us and all human beings as well as plants and animals. So in this chapter we are going to study about water, and when we come to the word resource, resource means from where do we get the water? Where is the water available for us to use? So in this particular chapter we are going to understand about the water and the source or the availability of water which is there around us. Water is one of the most important natural resources available to us. Life cannot exist without it. Water covers nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface. Salty or saline water obtained from oceans and seas is not fit for consumption. Fresh water is obtained from different sources but constitutes only 3% of the total water on Earth. So where do we get this water from? So water, as we know, is one of the most important resources of natural source. And it is available to us. God has gifted us with water. Now life cannot exist without it. Yes, everybody needs water. And water, it covers nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface. So water, it covers 3/4 of the Earth's surface. But saline or salty water is not good for us. We need fresh water, which is available, but it's only 3%, which is present in Earth. So now the question which arises is from where do we get the water? Rain is the main source of fresh water. However, it is received mainly through the monsoons, but its distribution is not uniform throughout the country. Some places receives a lot of rainfall, whereas others receives little. Based on their source, fresh water that we get from water bodies can be divided into two types: surface water and groundwater. So the only source of fresh water in India is rain. But as we know, rain is not uniform or it is not equally distributed throughout the country. In some places we have a lot of rainfall, but in others we have little or maybe no rainfall at all. So based on the source, fresh water can be divided into two types. They are surface water and groundwater. These are the two types of fresh water which is available to us. Now let's read about these individual terms respectively. Rivers, ponds, lakes and streams form sources of surface water. Rivers that originates in the mountains gets water from the melting snow and rain, but the peninsular rivers are dependent on rainfall. So when we come to surface water, we need to understand that rivers, ponds, lakes and streams form sources of fresh or surface water, and rivers that originates in the mountains, they get water by the melting of snow, and that's how we get water. But the peninsular rivers, they are totally much dependent on the rainfall. So this is about the fresh water. Now let's come to groundwater. Groundwater is the water that seeps into the Earth's surface. Now groundwater is the water which we get available from the Earth. Okay. Now let's see the other availabilities of groundwater. First we come to irrigation. Apart from meeting our everyday needs, water is largely used for irrigation purposes. In India, agriculture is primarily dependent on monsoons. However, in case of delayed or less rains, irrigation becomes important. It is done through wells, tube wells, canals and Persian wheels. So irrigation means the supplying water or the supply of water to the crops, which are very much essential for us, and the supplying of water to the crops are done how? Through canals, through pipes, through wells or tube wells. So these are the ways in which we get water for irrigation. And in India, agriculture is mainly dependent on monsoon. However, in case of delayed rains, irrigation is very much necessary. And how it is done? It is done through canals, pipe wells or tube wells, as well as Persian wheels. Now, what is Persian wheels, my dear children? Persian wheels is a traditional irrigation equipment which consists of a wheel with large scoops of buckets attached. Persian wheels means it is a round wheel-like structure with buckets, small buckets attached to each point. Now, as it rotates, it collects water from below the earth or from the well, and as how we pull it up, water is available. So this was all about irrigation. Now let's come to wells and tube wells. In villages, wells are dug to bring groundwater to the surface. In case the water level is too deep, then a deeper hole is dug and water is brought to the surface using an electric pump. It is called a tube well. They are used in the states of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat. So, in villages, wells are dug to bring groundwater, that is to bring the water which is below the earth to the surface so that it can be used. But in case if the water level is very much deep, then a hole is being dug and water is being brought out through electric pump. We call it as tube wells. And wells, obviously the water level is not deep, so we can take it out. Now let's come to canals. Canals are built to bring water from the rivers directly to the fields. So canals they are the sources from which are or they are built to bring water from the rivers directly to the fields. This is the process. Now let us come to another source, which is tanks. In some areas, artificial reservoirs are created to store rainwater and use it for irrigation. They are known as tanks. This method of irrigation is commonly used in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh. So in some areas, artificial reservoirs means there are artificial equipments or artificial source is being kept from which we store water and we use it for irrigation. They are known as tanks. So they are artificial reservoirs. And it is commonly practiced where? In Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Madhya Pradesh. Now let's see one of the most important source, which is dam. Now what is a dam? A dam is a wall built across a river. It controls the flow of water by opening and closing of sluice gates. Water is stored in an artificial lake behind the dam called a reservoir. The stored water is directed towards fields through canals. Apart from storing water, dams are used for other purposes. Water is made to fall from a height in a dam to generate electricity. They control floods and are also a place of breeding fish. When a dam is built to serve more than one purpose, it then is called a multi-purpose project. So dam is a wall built across a river, and it controls the flow of water by opening and closing of sluice gates. Now, what is sluice gates? Sluice gates is a sliding gate which is used for controlling the flow of water. So, it is a sliding gate which is used for controlling the flow of water. When you need water, this particular sluice gate, that is a sliding gate, it opens, and when you don't need it, just open. And water is stored in an artificial lake behind the dam. Now, obviously, you need water. Now, water is stored in an artificial lake behind the dam. It is called reservoir. That is, it is an artificial lake. The stored water is directed towards fields through canals. Now, this stored water is directed to the fields through canals. Now, apart from storing water, dams are also used for many purposes. What are the uses of dam? Water is made to fall from a height in a dam to generate electricity. The first use of dam is, or you can say the other use of dam is to generate. Generate electricity. What is the second? They control floods, and they are also place of breeding fish. So they also control floods. And third is they are used for breeding fish. So these are the various uses of dam. Now, when a dam is built to serve for more than one purpose, it is known as multi-purpose project. Now, there is a small table, my dear children, in page number 66. There you will come across many dams and why they are known as multi-purpose projects in India. Like we have the Bhakranagar Dam, we have the Hirapur Dam, we have the Sardar Dam, Damodar Valley Project, as well as Farakab Dams. These are all the dams which are called multi-purpose project because they serve for more than one purpose in India. Next, we come to the last but important portion, conservation of water. That is, how should we conserve water or keep water? Now, obviously, we use water for various purposes, but we need to keep it back for our future use. Water is an important resource required for survival of all living beings. So, it is important for us to conserve water. Practices like bathing and washing in water bodies, disposal of garbage and industrial waste pollute the water. This pollution leads to the loss of marine life. Consumption of polluted water and marine organisms from these bodies affect the health of humans also. It is therefore our responsibility to keep this resource clean and avoid its wastage. Yes, water is a very important resource, and as already told by children, we all need for survival. Human beings, plants, animals. So it is very important to save water. But we do not save water, rather we waste water. How? By bathing and washing in water bodies, that is in ponds. Disposal, we throw wastage and industrial waste in the water and we destroy the purity of water, or you can say we pollute the water. Now this in turn affects the marine life, that is the fish and other living organisms which are inside the water. They die. So we must not do that. And consumption of polluted water and marine organisms from these bodies affect the health. Now if we drink this polluted water, not only we but also marine organisms, that is, if we have the fish which lives inside the polluted water, we get ill. So we must not practice these things. It is therefore a responsibility to keep these resources clean and avoid wastage, because we really need it. Conservation practices like water recycling, that is cleaning contaminated water for reuse, rainwater harvesting, that is storage of rainwater in wells, bores, etc., and water wash development that is stored on water in tanks have proven helpful in this regard for recent years. Now, how are the ways in which we conserve water? What are the practices? So, conservation practices. What are the ways? First, we use water recycling. That is cleaning of contaminant, that is polluted water for reuse. Second is rainwater harvesting. Now, what is rainwater harvesting? It means the storage of rainwater in wells, porous wells, which we can use it via irrigation. And the third is watershed. Watershed development. Now, what is this particular watershed development? It means the storage of water in tanks. By these three practices, we conserve water and we save water for future use. So, in this way, my dear children, we have finished chapter number 9 of Social Science for Standard 4. For homework, I would like you to read and understand this chapter. Thank you.